Thanks, Claire, and thanks for having me. Before my self-introduction, let me just say hi for my manager to Harvard University. She just graduated from Harvard 10 years ago, and she said it's her favorite place around the world. So hi, everybody. And let's break into our topic today. First, let me do a self-introduction. Right now, I'm Associate Product Manager at LinkedIn, and I'm currently working on app activation, which means that I'm a growth product manager. And LinkedIn's this position is actually my first full-time job after my graduation from Duke in Master of Engineering Management. And previously, I graduated from Wuhan University in software engineering. And the first time that I've been a product manager was the time that I founded my startup in sophomore year. We were building a video monitoring system to identify the illegal content in the videos. And after that, I started to be passionate about the business and passionate about product management. So that's why I tried multiple functions because I'll touch on later on. For a lot of job positions, they want product manager candidates to have diverse background. So I tried multiple functions to understand what are the people in other functions doing, like technical program manager intern at TikTok and digital marketing intern at Tesla, and also multiple product manager interns in different companies. And if you want to check out mock interviews with me, then feel free to subscribe my YouTube channel and feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well. So like what I said, my product management journey started with my entrepreneurship. Actually, when we first founded this group, founded that team, we were building a platform to assess the value of virtual items in the games. And we were building that team because we want to participate in a competition in 2016 called City Cup Financial Innovation Competition. And after we won the national champion of that competition, we found a very weird thing. Like all of the judges, all of the investors are reaching out to other teams, not reaching out to us, although we won the national champion. So we were thinking probably something wrong with our go-to-market, probably something wrong with our product positioning. There isn't a product market fit for our product. So that's why we leverage the same technology, which is the OCR technology, to do something else. And in 2016, all the live streaming platforms bloom in the Chinese market, and short video platforms bloom in the Chinese market. So, and at that time, there was a user problem, which is the platform themselves depend on what they call supervisor to switch from one live channel to another to identify illegal content. And by illegal content here, we define illegal content as sexual content, violent content, and content that is not healthy to the society. And also, the platform depends on the users to report the content themselves, which is very low efficiency. So at that time, we were thinking, why not do it automatically? Why not just identify the illegal content when the live videos start streaming? Why not go through all the short videos before it got published on the platform? So that's how our first product was built. And in the end, the product got applied in the industry, which is a pretty good start for our team, but not a successful experience for me because actually there were a lot of obstacles at that time, and I was not doing the things in the right way. For example, in terms of the business development and marketing. So we were not earning profit from that application, but still it proved that our positioning, our product definition is the right place to go. So after that, I start to explore the business world. I came to Duke for a master program, and the master in engineering management is more like product management. It tells you all about the business world. It has 3 different tracks, including consulting, product management, and data analytics. So basically, it is a mini MBA program for the students who do not have that many years of working experience. But after that, when I tried multiple business courses in master program, I started to realize whether product management is the right path for me to go, whether there are a lot of maybe other functions that are pretty interesting. So I tried digital marketing intern at Tesla, gap for half a year, and then go back to product management at Tencent. So here I want to talk about how I did my job search as a aspiring product manager. First, my target was basically associate product manager programs. APM programs are entry-level product manager programs for candidates who do not have previous product management experiences. So if you are a new grad, then this program is very suitable for you. Or if you are a working professional but working on other functions, then there will also be APM programs in some of the companies that will accept experienced hire. And some of the things that you need to know before you start PM interviews, there are 3 books that you need to read. First one, Decode and Conquer. The second one, Cracking the PM Interview. And the third one, the PM Interview Questions. And after reading all those books, you start to form your framework of how to answer the product management interview questions, and you start doing mock interviews. Actually, this morning, I just talked with one of our LinkedIn employees, and she is based in London, and she's trying to explore APM opportunities inside this company. And I was talking with her and saying at that time I was doing like 300 mock interviews. And she was like, what? Actually, the reason why I'm doing so many mock interviews is not like just to improve my interview techniques, but to talk with people from all over the world to understand how they use different products. So for example, I came from China, so I didn't use Facebook or Google or any of those kind of products back in China. So I need to understand how they use it. Like I need to understand how they use it for 20 years, right? How they see Facebook grow and see Google grow. And also in international markets, for example, India, how Indian people use WhatsApp. They have different usages. So that's how that's why I did so many mock interviews. And also mock interview is one of my ways to do networking. So that's probably why. And then before your interviews, you probably want to do research as well. So for example, you want to check out the company conferences. For Google, they have I/O conference. And for Facebook, they have F8. And for LinkedIn, we have Talent Connect. So you want to check out those conferences to understand their strategy, what they're looking for, where they're going. If we go from a business point of view, what are the 3 horizon steps they're going to take? Basically, what is their mission in the recent 10 years? And after that, you want to check out news every day. You want to know what is happening around the world. And then after you understand the strategy from different companies, maybe even to read their annual financial report, you will get more context about what the companies are doing. And then you can connect the dots when you check out the daily news. And then you probably also want to check out the podcasts. Some of the podcasts are pretty much like critics about the current news. So you might want to know what are the experts' comments, what they think about of what is happening. And also, one of the ways that I did research is to reach out to my connections, reach out to my LinkedIn connections, and reach out to connections in my PM community to understand what they are doing in their on a day-to-day basis, and to let them help me understand their business. And here I also put networking here, but I put networking as the least prioritized bullet point on my slide. That is because I figured a lot of students, especially students, a lot of people, especially students, spend too much time on networking. And some of the students probably do not know what they want from the other part. And maybe you do not have a clear goal. Maybe you just want to have a coffee chat. And maybe you just want to understand what they are doing without a clear ask. Then the networking is not that efficient. So the reason I'm putting networking as my least prioritized bullet point here is not because networking is not important. It's actually because you need to figure out what is the right way to do networking. You need to make yourself clear. Maybe when you send out a LinkedIn email, when you send out a LinkedIn message, and you need to make clear ask. and also talk about what can you provide. And also as a student, you might think about what I could provide as a student, because the other part, who is probably a working professional, how can I help them in their career? It's not necessarily to be in career perspective. You might want to help them in their lives. You might want to help them with your connections. There are a lot of ways to exchange help. So that is also something I want to emphasize here. And on the other part of the slide, I talk about my results, which I do not want to focus in our current presentation. And here I added another slide to talk about what are the other typical ways to break into product management. Because I totally understand the APM program is only one of the ways to break into product management. Actually, it's even not the majority of people who break into product management. People around me who broke into product management these years are mainly like people who work on who have relevant experiences for 3 years and become a product manager. By relevant experiences, I mean maybe they have been an engineer for 3 years, they've been consultant for 3 years, they've been investment banking for 3 years, or they've been an entrepreneur for 3 years, right? Because 3 years is like a minimal request when you want to interview a full-time product manager position in the United States. And it depends on the job description itself. Some of the jobs want candidate in the business world. Some of the jobs want a candidate with a more technical background. So it really depends on the position and their requirements. And for the third path, which is a very typical and a huge channel of people breaking into product management, is MBA candidates. Because for a lot of schools, for a lot of companies, they want MBA candidates who maybe do not have previous PM experiences. Because MBA students have a lot of business courses and they understand the business better than the others. And the last one is from startup. Because a lot of startups just maybe they like you as a person, they like to work with you, or they like your previous experience, which is more relevant to what they're doing right now. So that is also a path to break into PM. And here I list out some of the PM skill set that you want to work on. And this really depends on the position that you are interviewing. So for example, if the position you are interviewing is the more entry level they are, the more entry level they are, the more execution they will be. So if the positions are more high level, then more strategic they will be. So from the product strategy point, we will have a business strategy, we'll have competitive strategy, we'll have product strategy. Basically to understand what is the market going on, what are the other competitors going on, and define what is your product strategy. And then it comes to product design skill set, which is first user segmentation, and then doing identifying user pain point. And then based on the user pain point, you come up with the user requirements and solutions to solve their problem. And finally, it comes to product design, which means that you need to know, one second. For our office, if I just sit on the same position for too long, then the light is going off. So, and then for the product design, it means you have seen a lot of similar products. You know, like for an app or for a website, what are the typical design techniques out there when you design a product? And then it comes to the product execution skill set. First one is prioritization. I was talking to Claire that today we were doing our Q4 planning. So this is all about prioritization. Like you have a lot of initiatives going on and you have like 20 initiatives for Q4, but they're not going to do the 20 initiatives because we don't have enough engineering support. So here, when we talk about prioritization, you might want to think about the impact of their initiatives and how much engineering support we need for each initiative. And then it comes to product testing. You might want to figure out how you want to do A/B testing, especially when you are a consumer product. And for enterprise product, you have your different way to do testing. You might have beta program. You might have your list of enterprises that want to try the beta version of your product first. So for different products, we have different testing techniques as well. And then it comes to metrics and data analysis. It is a big part for growth product manager. We look at metrics all the time, and we do data analysis all the time. Your best partner on the team might be your data scientist. So this is also important, especially for consumer product managers. And then it comes to go-to-market strategy. It is more related to enterprise product managers because they have their way to, especially when it is a 0 to 1 product roadmap. You might want to think about what is your go-to-market strategy. It also works for growth product manager because there are a lot of partnerships with other companies going on, and there are a lot of marketing campaigns going on. So that is also a place that you might need your go-to-market thinking. And finally, we have product roadmap, which means, for example, we just ramped signing with Google and signing with Apple on our LinkedIn app. But these are just 2 initiatives, right? In the long run, in the next 1 or 2 years, what are you going to do to further reduce the login friction for LinkedIn app? So that is where you need more strategic thinking. You need to think about what are the initiatives you have along the way and to prioritize them for the next 1 or 2 years. So these are all the things I prepared. And any questions from the audience? Feel free to post your questions in the chat or maybe raise your hand and unmute yourself.
Thanks, Justin, for sharing the great tips and experience. Actually, before we go into the Q&A session, since there are many new people coming in, can we jump back to the preparation slide a bit? So yes. So I think everything is pretty clear here, but can you please just dive into the 3 books you are recommending? Like, why are you recommending them? Like, how much time or effort do you suggest to spend on each of them?
Sure. For Decode and Conquer, it is more about a framework to think about product design questions and product execution questions. This is more like realistic type of book. You could use that framework to answer all those interview questions. And those interview questions are not just interview questions; they exist in your daily job as a product manager. So I found that pretty helpful. For Decode and Conquer, I use, I think, 2 weeks at a time to finish this book. One thing that I want to remind you guys is you need to read one book pretty fast. Like if you just maybe spend 10 minutes or 20 minutes per day to read one book, then you will forget what you have before. And for Decode and Conquer, it is a very practical framework that you could use in your day-to-day job. So I recommend you to maybe spend the whole day reading this book, and then you will see that you probably only need 1 or 2 weeks to finish it. And for cracking the PM interview, it is about what are the typical stereotypes of different companies. So for example, like Google type product managers, they probably like technical people better. And for maybe Facebook type of product managers, they want business candidates. And for Microsoft, for years, they've used program manager as their product manager's job title, which also means something. So for cracking the PM interview, it talks about the different companies' culture, what they want, what are their vision and mission, and what type of product managers they want. And for the 3rd book, the product management interview questions, it is a question bank. So it has 167 questions in that book. And I recommend you to use that book as a tool when you do mock interview with others. So after you read Decode and Conquer and cracking the PM interview, you have more context of what the companies want and how to answer those questions. then you can use the PM interview questions as your tool to do mock interview with others.
Thank you. And can you also please briefly share the timeline? Typically, I know for APMs, it's supposed to be a big October, November-ish. And for the general entry-level PMs, can depends on company, can be all year round. But do you have any insights on the generally hiring timeline?
That's a very good question. For most of the APM programs, they start around August, September, and October. And the first one should be Facebook Rotational Product Manager Program. It starts on the first day of August. And if August the 1st is a Saturday, then it will be the first Monday in August. And then it should be Uber APM, Lyft APM, Google APM, and then in September, LinkedIn APM. This is the typical timeline. And for APM programs, because most of the programs are very competitive, so you might want to talk with people like the previous candidates to understand what are the start dates of those programs. So for example, LinkedIn APM start on September 10th last year. So probably it will open around the same time in 2022. So you might want to reach out to those previous candidates to get a list of the APM start days and make sure that you will apply for those programs on the first day, because they're too competitive. And for a lot of programs, they won't review all the resumes to figure out who they want to send out in interview invitation. So you want to apply as early as possible to get selected.
Yeah, so promise last question for me. So there's a rumor. So in order to get into the FAANG companies, you also definitely need a referral along with the application. So do you think that's true?
It depends on which company you're applying for. So I remember for Facebook and Lyft, they said the referrals don't count last year. And I don't know, for other companies, they might have the same policy. So you might want to dig into different companies' recruiting policy to understand whether a referral really counts during their recruitment process.
Thank you. Now we are open up to the questions. So I'm just gonna do it by the order. So before that, I have posted Jiajin's LinkedIn and also YouTube channel. Definitely feel free to connect her with the LinkedIn since you are coming from this event. Okay, so first question was from James. So tips for career transitioning from strategy at tech into PM at tech.
That's a very good question because I just had a friend who works as a strategy and BizOps at LinkedIn, and he just made his transition to product manager. I think it really depends on what are you doing in a day-to-day basis and what are the requirements for a product manager. So for example, I will take our BizOps as an example. Like the daily job that they are doing is first to make sure what are the business strategies for the whole org and what are the targets. By targets, I mean not only metric target, but also product target for the whole team. And then for our product initiatives, they will also help us to size what are the estimated impact for each initiative. And along this quarter, they will actively track all the metrics to see whether they're going up, going down, whether there is an unexpected change of some of the metrics. And if there is an expected change, what are the reasons? So these are the things that they do in a day-to-day basis. And they did very well in terms of understanding the business. And they also did a good job to analyze the metrics. And these are the things that also, as a product manager, the things that you need to do. And if you think about the gap between a strategy person versus a product manager, then I would say the first one is definitely to understand the user pain point and to do product design, because that is definitely something that strategy people won't do. And the second part, maybe understand technology, because for some of the product, even they do not require you to have a technical background, you still need to have a lot of conversations with engineers. And on a daily basis, most of your time will be spent with your engineers. So you need to use their language to talk with them. And that is probably also something that you want to think about when you make the transition. And what else? Let me think. I think that will be it. If you are working on strategy, we touch on like the strategy skill sets that I mentioned here, and also for example, for our biz ops, they dive really deep into data and metrics. Then I think otherwise you're good.
Thank you. So to next questions. So are APM programs full-time programs or internship programs? Thank you.
Most of the APM programs are full-time programs, and for some of the APM programs, they have internship programs. So for example, Google has internship program. LinkedIn has internship program. What are the others? I think that's it. Facebook doesn't have internship program for sure. And for other programs, I believe like you can definitely check their APM official website. But it is true that the programs who offer internship positions are like really only a small amount of APM programs.
So everyone, since APM is a huge interest, I have put a link in the chat called the APM list. So feel free to keep checking one. This is not an official source, but it's like people's wisdom. So feel free to check it for APM programs. So next one, what are the top APM programs?
I'll be more than happy for you guys to join LinkedIn APM program. I think it's a great program to start with. I think, like, to be honest, it really depends on what you're looking for from an APM program. So for example, I think for a lot of APM programs, they're super cool. For example, for Google APM program, I would say like if you really want to feel the technical side of a product to really understand what are the like most, I don't know, cleverest and most fantastic engineers and scientists, what are they doing, then Google APM is a great start point. And if you are more like a business type of person, then Facebook is definitely your like a great program for you to start with. And for LinkedIn APM program, really focus a lot on the product culture. So LinkedIn is a company with a very strong product culture. When you go to, especially you are not, if you join a product team, which means it is like a product team instead of not like an engineering infra team. If you join a product team, everyone in that team will tell you that you are a product manager, so you should be the decision maker. So LinkedIn has a very strong product culture, which means that the product managers will have more responsibilities compared with the product managers maybe from other APM programs. And for a lot of other APM programs, they have different styles. You might want to talk with the previous APMs to truly understand how is their APM program structured, how are their rotation working, and how is their company culture, and how are different teams treating those APM candidates. You might want to understand more from the previous APM candidates.
Thank you. And then definitely we know who to ask for to refer to the LinkedIn APM program. So the next question is, how do you know which company's recruitment policy for referral?
I believe it shows on the APM official website of different companies. Yeah, because I remember I saw Facebook and Lyft announcement on their official website. So if it is not on their APM website, then you might want to check their campus hiring website. That is also a source that they will provide information like that.
Thank you. Okay, so what are the skills that an APM program is willing to let you to learn on the job, and what are non-negotiable?
That's a very good question.
Like when judging things, just yeah. I was gonna give you more time to think. Yeah, please go.
I think for the non-negotiables, it depends on the company, but overall for APM programs, they want you to have the ownership. They want you to be proactive and take the initiative to do something in maybe like in your life. And also they want you to think actively, because all the interview questions they are going to ask you are going to be very vague. How can you make the vague problems into a specific solution, right? And also, I think if you have better product sense, that would be great. Because if you do mock interview with a lot of people, you will see a lot of people might not think that deep about what users truly want. They probably won't go from the user pain point of view. They probably do not have that much user empathy to understand users. So if you have more user empathy, if you go more from the user's point of view, then I think that will be better for you to go through the interviews. And for the skills that the APM program is willing to let you learn, I think it's all kinds of skill sets. It's like first how to analyze strategy, because that will be a higher level product manager to lead you to think about it from a strategic way. So for example, when I first joined this team, I don't know what I want to do for app activation, right? App activation is also vague for me at that time. I only know how we define app activation, which is the number of users who activate the app successfully, which means that they successfully sign up or log in. But I don't know, like, what are we doing? I think I never fail logging in LinkedIn app. So what are the other user problems? And my manager really helped me a lot to help me understand the strategy, like what we've done before and what we're doing right now and what we're doing in the future. And also, she also used a lot of like data we have, the user data we have, to tell me why they think like that, right? If you go with strategy, it must have that data support. So why they think like that. And also from the product design, you will have your UX researcher to help you with the user pain point part. And you will also have your product designer to help you with your product design. But again, as a product manager, you need to pick a little bit of their brain to come up with your like solution, but still they will help you understand more about different perspectives. And also for me, the most difficult part after I joined LinkedIn is the data analysis part, because I didn't know that there are so many like data science problems existing in the growth products area. So that is the part that I spend a lot of time with, and I spend a lot of time with my BizOps and partner, my data scientist partner, to understand how we analyze those data. Even like how to read those report is very hard for me when I first joined. So these are more like area specific, right? If I'm doing this because I'm a growth product manager, but if you are an enterprise product manager, I have a APM friend who worked for enterprise product and LinkedIn Talent Solutions work. She never reads the report. She never reads the T-Rex report we have. So she doesn't have those problems. So I think these are area specific and position specific. They're willing to teach you when you're in the program.
Thank you. That's really helpful. And then if there's no questions, I probably have a last one. So which linking to your last part as well, like, do you believe like you definitely need to have the technical background to break into PM, or you to pick up the technical courses along the way to break into PM?
First, to answer your first question, whether you need a technical background, definitely no. For some of the companies like Google, even Google, years before on their job description, they talk about that they want a candidate with technical background, with computer science or software engineering background. And these days they talk about like they prefer a technical background, and they do not limit it just for CS students and software engineering students. They also their program also open for data scientist students, math, physics, all types of science areas. And for other companies, they don't require the candidates to have technical background. But the thing is, let me emphasize it in this way, like you need to understand the product in a technical way, because you need to have conversations with your engineers. You need to understand what they're talking about. For example, in my work, like there are a lot of technical terms that I've never used, even when I was a software engineering student back in the college. I never learned like what this deep link work in the growth area. I have no idea about it, but if the engineer explain it to you, you need to understand it. And you need to understand the logic of their decision-making process. And then you need to ask back. You need to challenge back. And you need to come up with a better solution. So that is the part that you need technical thought process, technical understanding